Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2022 Asia Open Data Partnership Summit. The 2022 Asia Open Data Partnership Summit, also known as an important annual event of AODP, is the first time hosted by the Malaysian chair-Sinar project. With the theme of collaboration between public and private sectors in data application, we invited experts from Japan, Korea, Malaysia, and Taiwan to share the challenges and real case of how government agencies can develop coherent data policies and frameworks to accelerate industrial application and expand business opportunities. During the panel discussion, we would also like to focus on topics related to innovative opportunities and key challenges for data applications in Asian countries, and how to establish an international cooperation model in the Asian region. To open the summit, we would like to invite Mr. Carol Yosef, the co-founder and developer of Sinar project, and also the chair of AODP 2022, to deliver the welcoming speech. Let's welcome Mr. Carol Yosef.
Hi, I'm Kyril from Sinar Project Malaysia. Welcome everyone virtually for the AODP Data Economy Summit 2022 from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The world in our region over the past few years has gone through a period of challenges and uncertainty as a result of the pandemic. And it seems that these problems are not behind us yet. Travel restrictions, health, supply chain disruptions, geopolitical tensions, and severe climate events are still ongoing concerns now. So everyone is affected in some way. And sadly, this summit has not been immune from this uncertainty. So it's with some regret that we're not able to be together physically for this. But as we have found during the pandemic, innovations and technology has allowed us to find new ways to collaborate and work together. And we're still able to be together for this virtually for this summit. Yesterday, we got updates from several country economies regarding their open data challenges and initiatives in their respective countries from the perspective of academia, civil society, government, and private sector, along with AODP working groups that have initiated discussions and collaborations around applications, exchange, and industry. Which brings us to today's panel discussions on collaborations between public and private sectors and the data application in Asia. Our region is extremely diverse with different languages, political and legal systems, environment, capacity, and stages of economic development. This diversity has enabled the development of multiple innovations in the use and application of data in this varied environment. Yet this provides challenges. But despite these challenges, there's an even greater possible benefits when there is sharing and collaborations for these innovations for policy, technology, and business. Today, we are proud to present respected panelists from Japan, Korea, Malaysia, and Taiwan to share with us their expertise and experience in these areas for open data and the way forward for local and regional collaborations in Asia. With that, we again welcome you to the summit and hope you enjoy the insightful presentations and discussions from our respected panelists.
Thank you, Mr. Yosef. And we now invited Dr. Noboru Koshizuka, Professor of the University of Tokyo and Chair of Data Society Alliance. And further, welcome Mr. Hiroaki Shiraishi, Director of Digital Shift Promotion from Bureau of Digital Service, Tokyo Metropolitan Government, to deliver their presentation.
My name is Noboru Koshizuka from University of Tokyo, Japan. Today, I would like to talk about beyond open data toward Asia open data space. I'm very happy to be here and to make a presentation in this AODP to summit. And my name is Noboru Koshizuka. This is my short introduction. I'm working in the University of Tokyo, and my main specialty is computer science. And now I'm leading the organization of Data Society Alliance, and I'm a chair of Data Society Alliance, and I have many projects in Japan related to the data and also open data. And firstly, I would like to talk about the background of my talk. And now I think the world is moving to the era of data, I think. And the vision of future society is a digitalized society. It is called as Society 5.0. The Society 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.0 is the future society. And in the Society 5.0, the main issue is the cyber physical world. It's a digitalized world, but not only the cyber world, but also the cyber physical world. The connection of the cyber and the physical is very, very important in this concept. And in the industry, I think it is moving to the era of data because about 2000, I think the ICT world is a global mega platform world. But now we are moving to the next generation era. I think that if I call this next generation data sharing platform era. So now world are very competitive for building the next new platform. It is focused in the data. So I would like to talk in this speech. I would like to talk about DataEX. This is my project of data, and I think in Europe, in China, in India, and also in United States, there are many projects of data. So now we are moving to the era of data. This is a very important background. And so, for example, in Japan, there are many applications in industry and public sectors. For example, this is a remote operation, smart agriculture, smart factories, and many applications are now executed in Japan. And next is how about the public open data in Japan? Because this is Asia Open Data Summit. So how about the open data in Japan? I think this is a DataEconomy.Taiwan, the screenshot of the DataEconomy.Taiwan. This is an open data catalog of national government of Japan, and this is established. This was established about 10 years ago, and now the content of the data become doubles. So now 22,544 data sets are published in this DataEconomy.Taiwan. So the number of data is increased more and more now in Japan. And also, most important point is local governments. In Japan, there are 1,700 local governments in Japan, and now about 71%, more than 1,000 local governments are publishing the open data of their own public open data of local government. This is a very important one. So now in Japan, there are more than 1,000 open data catalogs. So this is a very big one. This is very good. But another problem occurs. Another problem is there are so many open data catalogs. So how can we access data from this more than 1,000 open data catalogs? This is a very important point. So we must build a integration or federation of this more than 1,000 open data catalogs. So I call, for example, this is Japan Open Data Space. This kind of data space concept is very, very important. And so the data space is a new type of the data platform. The conventional data platform is centralized, monopolized, and we would like to collect all data into one database. But recently, the most important architecture is data space is distributed and decentralized and federated data platform. So more than 1,000 data catalogs, but physically distributed, but logically or from the view of users, it is integrated in one. This is a new data platform, data space. So we in Japan, we would like to establish this kind of data space, open data space in Japan. And now, not only open data, but also including commercial or pay data. But now in Japan, there are many small domain-specific data platforms. This is a public and private partnership or collaboration is executed in each data platforms. And DataEconomy.Taiwan is one of them, and there are many data platforms. So surely, I'm sure that we have more than 1,000 open data catalogs, but more data platforms in Japan. This slide shows such kind of many other kinds of data platform. So we would like to federate or integrate all of these many data platform into one logical data platform, federated data platform. So such kind of purpose, we established a new organization, a new platform, DataEX, in Japan, and we would like to establish the Japan data space. Japan. This data space all federates all of the open data catalogs or other data platforms. And this is a screenshot of our organization of Data Society Alliance, which developed the DataEX. And this is the organization. I'm a chair, and there are about 20 core members. And now the company and the local government, we have more than 100 of members, and we are collaborating with each other and aiming to establish this kind of the Japan data space. And this is the federation architecture, component architecture, and this is a mechanism to exchange or to share data. Today we have a time limitation, so I would like to omit the precise explanation of these mechanisms. But now we in Japan is establishing this kind of, and now we are developing this kind of Japan data space. And today I would like to propose that the Asia needs, I think, data space. So in this, the AODP member countries, we should move for the Asian open data space, the federation of the open data platform with each other into one data space. This is very important. For example, in EU, in Europe, the Europe are aiming the data space. So in Asia, I would like to propose this kind of data space should be developed. So, and I think that the next speaker, I would like to introduce Mr. Shirahashi. He's the officer of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, and in Tokyo Metropolitan Government building TDP. This is a kind of data space of Tokyo city. So this is a very good example and a most successful case in Tokyo of the data space. So my next to me, Shirahashi-san, will make a presentation about TDPF and open data in Tokyo. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Koshizuka Sensei. As Koshizuka Sensei introduced our side, so I'm going to be explaining for the Tokyo Data Platform right now. So, agenda for today, first of all, I'm going to be introducing myself. Then, also for the Koshizuka Sensei is mentioned for the Associative 5.0, right? So we're having a Tokyo edition we call Smart Tokyo. So I'm going to be explaining for the things. Also for the our project is a Tokyo Data Platform. So I'm going to be explaining for that one. Then we're having a open data practice. So actually what we are doing. So I'm going to be introduce our practice. This is for the agenda for today for my side. Then first of all, I'm going to be introduce myself. So I'm Hiroaki Shiraishi. Then I'm director for the digital safe promotion. Then I'm working for the Tokyo Metropolitan Government right now. Then my history is I'm working in the Microsoft before in Japan, also for the headquarters as well. Then using for the covering for the marketing side. So marketing having a lot of data and analyzing using. Then also for the covering for the China and India and Japan from US headquarters. Then I moved to the Rakuten as well. Then I'm charging for the fintech part, then covering for the smartphone settlement services and common point services as well. Then the area is also for the data, using data and analyzing and those kinds of things. So most of my life is related for the data as well. Then right now I just moved to the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Then might be my private sector experience using for the Tokyo. I hope, hopefully. So that's all for my introduction. Then for the details, I'm going to be explained. So as I mentioned for the Smart Tokyo, right? That is kind of like a Society 5.0 for the Tokyo edition. Then purpose for these things is we want to improve for the quality of the life for our Tokyo citizens. So they want to going to be more comfortable for the Tokyo, or the more excited for the Tokyo as well. So we want to be using for the data and using for the digital, then want to be improved for the area. So the Smart Tokyo is just started for last year. Then we just for the execution year for this year, but that's not complete yet. So little by little, we're going to be covering for the area and then improve for the area as well. So 2030, we're going to be covering for the 1 to 80 project, hopefully. Then also for the expand for the vision for the 2040 as well. Then the summary, this is for the blueprint for the Tokyo Smart Tokyo. Then the bottom part, we having a bunch of data. Nature, weather, infra, kind of like a park or a bridge or those building, and we're having a lot of infrastructure, but we having a data as well. Then also not only for the public, private area having a lot of data, life, economy, and those kind of things, right? So we're going to be gathering for a lot of data, then analyzing for the data and using for the AI things, and then as an output, we're going to be covering for the Tokyo citizen lives for the improvement. Like for the, we're having a 9 area for the improvement, basically for the disaster protections, also for the city plans, mobility, also for the energy, nature, wellness, and education, and also for the work style, and then industry as well. Going to be that we are focused on those area and going to be improved for the area as well. Then this is for the summary for the Smart Tokyo. Then within the Smart Tokyo concept, we try to build for the Tokyo data platform we call TDPF. Then this is kind of like a data platform. So connecting for the data provider and using for the connecting for the data provider and the users. Then we're going to be they're going to be distributed for the data and as like a market price. So we are aiming for the those kind of platforms we're going to be implemented. Then the mission and the vision is here. So our mission is cooperating openly with our citizens and all the people related to the data utilization. Also for the leading realization of the society, which can be exchanged data safely. And then visions is prompting data exchange of the government and private, and nurturing for the innovation for resolving society issues. Then realize Smart Tokyo as people can be live and working comfortably. Then data strategy is 3 key parts: connecting, exchanging, involving. Those kind of things is pretty important for the data. Then this is for the our project plans. What we're going to be do. Basically, for the first part, we're going to be supporting for the supporting for the case studies. So we want to making for the innovation case studies that part. So we're going to be supporting for area. Then next one is for the data cleansing part. So data cleansing part is kind of pretty important. So we need to reduce for the cost for the supporting for the society. Also for the, as I mentioned, for the marketplace, we're going to be create for the one-stop data marketing marketplace. So then distribute for the lot of data within through our platforms. Then also for the not only for the platforms, we need to think about for the guidelines and rules. So we need to prepare for those kind of things. That is a project plan. Then we're going to be achieved for the by the 2025. Then next one is this is for the summary of our project. We're having 3 pillars basically: data transportation and data cleansing and analyzing and consulting part. The bottom ones, analyzing and consulting part is maybe for the future we're going to be supported. But first of all, we're going to be supported with 2 pillars: data transportation and cleansing part initially. So we're going to be prepared for the data library and marketplace and the community. The community is pretty important. We're having case studies and event and those kinds of things. Yeah, we making more getting popular for the area. Then involve for the lot of people and getting more excited market we need to create. Then also for the data cleansing part. That is kind of like a little bit hard, but we're going to be supporting for the area. Then, as I mentioned, for the community side, then one of the case studies practices this one. We having a governance card. This is kind of like a open data hackathons. So we gathering for the people, private and individual people. Then we're going to be provide for the award. Those kind of things. Then we want to making for the ecosystem. So using for our data, then other people is having a great idea, right? So using for the great, use the data and great idea is integrated, then provide for the quality, improve for the quality of the life for the Tokyo people. So we are thinking for those kind of ecosystem. So we already started for those kind of practice already. Then we actually start this year already completed. We done last year. Also for this year is completed. Then August is having a registration. Then end of the August is having programs. Then first presentation in September, and also we already decide for the winners on October. So we're having a lot of good ideas from this hackathon. So this is very good practice for us. Also for the year and the year entries increasing. Maybe for the twice per entry increasing. So 20 last year we're having about for the 200 entries, but this year is more than the 400. Also for the last year is about for the 70 entries, 70 proposal, but this year is more than double. So 164. So this is very good result for us. So that's all for my side. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Koshizuka and Mr. Shiraashi. Next, we will have Mr. Shou Eda, Deputy Director of the Group of Common Functions for Digital Society from Digital Agency, Government of Japan.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving the chance to speak here today. My name is Sho Ueda from Digital Agency, Government of Japan. I'm in charge of the planning and executing or promoting the utilizing the developing the public sector data of business activity. I devised a strategy and also I'm a project manager. So today I'd like to tell you a very important mindset to utilizing and developing the public sector data in practice. So, as you may know, Digital Agency of Japan has no authority to command other ministries which have the data of each registers. So, all we have to do is to persuade and coordinate with other ministries to start a joint project. Mindset of working together with and acceptance for the various values is crucial. This is quite sudden, but I'd like to talk about my dream I had recently. Once upon a time, there is a National Administrative Agency of Digitalization. Although everyone gathered to promote the digitalization of the government, they always ended up arguing. There are two types of people. One is what we call idealists, who are looking ahead to the future. They come up with a lot of ideas and think creativity how the future should be. However, they are not familiar with the actual businesses because they are not in charge of day-to-day work. They see things from the bird's eye view. The other is what we call realists, who are very competent to do just what they need to do without hesitation. They have detailed knowledge about their jobs, but paradoxically, they do not have original or amazing ideas. They have a micro perspective. What are they arguing every day? People are divided. The realists are irritated with the realists. The idealists think that the realists are doing routine work and never understand their creative ideas. They are also stressed because they are never understood by the realists. On the other hand, the realists are angry with the others. They recognize that the idealists are unreliable, who are talking always about unfeasible plans. In fact, they have enough of the idealists who order many tasks, which take a lot of time to adjust one-sidedly. As a result, the idealists run away from the realists and love to talk with the same type of the people outside the agency who really appreciate their idea and concepts and become increasingly confident about their mind and ideas. It is so-called echo chamber effect. While the realists flee and escape from the suffering by the idealist, can do only small jobs, but cannot do big ones, need to take drastic measures. If they stay with their comfort zone, they will never challenge the hard things. If a private company faced this kind of situation, the company would go bankrupt immediately. But administrative agency never goes bankrupt unless the government would go into default. The government has no problem in a short run, but the people in trouble remain inconvenient. There is no time to be divided inside the organization. The realist and idealist and the realists must have common goal, strategies, and tactics, and head for the same goal, coordinating with both perspectives, micro and macro perspectives, in order to overcome this difficulty, a divided situation, to achieve the goal of digitalization, which provides numerous benefits for the people. There are still few, but more and more people are getting to struggle to overcome that situation. There is a hope. When I felt it's getting bright outside, I woke up in the morning. In reality, there are many same-divided situations, especially in the Japanese government, which has vertical sectioning systems in the context of the data policy. As a matter of fact, there is no common sense that the data is very important in the middle management level or section level in the government. So if we who appreciate the value of the data talk as a ministry administrator one-sidedly, negotiation breaks down. But there is a way. We should be on the client side to find the pain point of the other ministry and their user. I'd like to introduce a recent project I'm responsible for. Just a few weeks ago, we reached a consensus on launching the joint project with some ministries which have the authority to give the permission for certain businesses. For measures against COVID-19 and supporting the SMEs, we have to clean up the data of the permission. The SMEs applying the supporting scheme face the tiresome paperwork, and also the administrative staffs who review the application are in trouble because they have to check a lot of paper attachments. In short, there are huge administrative burden. This paperwork can be eliminated if we can utilize the data of information of the permission by the authority. But now, there is no data because of human processes. We want the Ministry of the Authority to develop their data. However, developing data for utilizing the supporting system is out of their jurisdiction because supporting systems are operated by the other ministries. But after we've done the feedbacks, we find that there is also in their pain point in the section level on the permission authority side. They are also in trouble with paperwork with shortage of labor in the process of the permission. If we can solve it together, we can make their work more efficient, and eventually we can get accurate data of the permission. From now, we start joint project with the Ministry of Authority. I think that it is very important to find common issues to start a new project with people having a different value and perspective. Once we can build a relationship of trust with the potential data holder, we can tackle more challenging programs with other ministries. In short, think in their shoes. This is a very basic mindset for the collaboration with the people, having the different value senses. But sometimes the most obvious things in life are the hardest, at least in Japan, as I know. But we have to overcome this challenge to utilize and develop public sector data. Thank you so much for kind attention. This is the end of my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ueda. Next, let's welcome Ms. Haejong Lin, Principal Manager of Open Data Center, National Information Society Agency.
So good morning from Korea. This is Haejong Lim. I'm a Principal Manager of National Information Society Agency in the Republic of Korea. I'm working in the Open Data Center and responsible for developing our Open Data Master Plan and initiatives by the Korean government. So today I will be discussing about the open government data policies and best practices that we've implementing so far. So these are my agenda today. Just let us have a brief look on the legal and regulatory environment of Korea and governance framework on the open government data sets and policies and initiatives that we are implementing and some future plans that where we are heading to. So Korea is one of a few countries that has legislated the law solely on the open government data sets. So stated in the Korean Open Government Data Law, so open government data refers to data created and retained by the government and municipal organizations and public organizations that is available to people. And these are some key legal and regulatory instruments on the open government data stated in the Korean Open Data Law. So the law requires the publication of open data in machine-readable format and in open format with their associated metadata as well. And the law also requires all ministries and local governments and public bodies to have one chief open data officer and one additional public officials in charge of data publications and data quality works. And this is a governance framework of open data sets in Korea. So on the very top, we have Open Data Strategy Council, chaired by Prime Minister. So this council deliberate and coordinate, monitor, and evaluate governance major open data policies. And we have Ministry of the Interior and Safety, the leading ministries, and we have NIA, and we have one special committee called Open Data Mediation Committee. And I would like to just briefly introduce our committee. So this committee has been created to ensure that a user who experiences problems from ministries or public organizations that refuse to provide or stop providing data, so they may seek effective remedies for their right to use data without going to the trouble of complicated administrative litigation, but rather than through a simple procedure of dispute mediation. So in a year, we have about 40 cases on the Open Data Mediation Committee. And so if you look at the studies of open data set in Korea, so actually there are about 50,000 data sets released on our national data portal services, and there are about 3,000 apps or web services using open government data sets in Korea. So thanks to all these efforts, so Korea has been the first in the OECD Hour Index for 3 consecutive years. So in Korea, in every 3 years, we develop what we call Open Data Master Plan. And now we are under the 3rd Open Data Master Plan. And in every single year, all ministries and local governments and public bodies should submit an annual Open Data Implementation Plan on how they would implement the task or the project stated in the Open Data Master Plan. So our 3rd Open Government Data Master Plan, you can just have a look on it, and the key initiatives I will be discussing later on. And actually now we are in the phase of developing our 4th Open Government Data Master Plan, which will be announced by the next month. So, and I would like to introduce our 3 main government projects that we carry out. So first is what we call Open by Default project. It's a $2 million project. So in 2018, we conducted a full-scale analysis of a pan-government database from about 800 ministries and local government and public institutions. So, and about 8,000 databases were analyzed, and we found out that there are about 4,200,000 data sets were in the databases, and we concluded that about 140,000 data sets can be released to the public except the data sets that have personal information or national security issues. So what we did was that we asked all public bodies to build a 3-year releasing plan by themselves. And another data releasing project is a national core data project. So it's a $20 million per year. So national core data in Korea is a data with the nation's priority, high demand from a private sector, and that has a high utility. Then how do we select these national core data sets? So we usually select 20 data sets each year. So we conduct an interview with the business and public reference surveys that are carried out. Then user groups were leveraged to define the user demand. So once we pull out the candidate project based on the analysis of survey and interview, we hold this special data project committee consisted of government officials and private sector professionals. We decide annual national core data area in every year. And another project is a business matching project. It's a $40 million per year. So basically, this project is do matching private companies that has a data professionals to the public institutions in need of data processing and improving data quality. We started this project since, especially, let's say, small local government, they usually lack the data professionals or knowledge. And while small data companies, they lack the budget. So despite they have these data professionals. So to solve this issue, once the public body suggests a data project, such as constructing local restaurants databases, then we match a private company that has the data capabilities to the public bodies who suggest the projects. Of course, volume of releasing data set is important, but the quality aspect is very important as well. The Korean government set a open government data standards such as that are high demand, such as public parking lot or public toilet, usually for the public infrastructures. So up to now, we have set national open data standards for about 112 types. So this is an actual example of the open data standards that we've announced so far. So of course, since we are still fighting against COVID-19, that we've been releasing data sets related to COVID-19 to our national data portal services as of now. And I would like to share that how Korean government is dealing with the agencies that refuse to release data sets. So in Korea, business registration number has been regarded as a corporate secret. So thus, National Tax Service Agency, who owns these data sets, have been refusing releasing the business registration number data sets. So we've basically reached a resolutions adopting true or false API services. So this is how it works. So once the user put business registration number to these services, this API service actually tells you whether the number is true or false. So without releasing the raw data sets, we've adopted a total new way of releasing data sets. So I just wanted to share that how Korean government is dealing with the data sets that hasn't been released so far. So Korean government also carry out data operation assessment in every year to see how well the government bodies and the public institutions are releasing and manage open government data set. So there are 5 criteria for the evaluation. So evaluate the efforts on the institution for whether they are educating or training for the government officials on the data sets, or whether they are exerting efforts on the developing and formulating new data sets that are high demand, and how many open format data sets are in the national data portal, or how frequent they update those data sets. And in Korea also, in general, if government bodies are not allowed to develop a app or web services using open government data sets if there is any possibilities or any capabilities that a private sector has potential to develop. Because we really want the private sector to be a main driver of the building data ecosystem. So governments are trying not to intervene as much as possible. Of course, there are exceptions. If it's related to national security or emergency incident, of course, government can intervene it. So Korean governments also promote a lot of economic growth supporting startups and especially entrepreneurs. So we've been providing professional support to entrepreneurs covering full spectrums, starting with the data consultings or educating, and providing offline spaces for them to test bed their ideas. So this is my last page of my presentation. So Open Government Data Strategy 2.0 announced and developed in the April is the latest strategy that Korean government has been developing. So our goals include that we put a priority on the social issue data. So we've been releasing vaccination data or data sets related to safety to national data portal as a top priority. So to make this, we are having a regular meetings with the corporate and private sectors to find out which data sets they need the most. And if you recall that we have been developing what we call open by default project, but other than that, we are actually in the phase of developing what we call unstructured data releasing plan. So we are in the process of analyzing how many unstructured data sets are in the databases of the government bodies. So when we speak of unstructured data sets, it include like image file, audio file, which are key for the artificial intelligence development. And actually, we are also thinking of adopting crowdsourcing method for the collecting open government data sets to make the open data sets more reliable and more adequate. And also, we are making advancement of the data portal services as well. So that would be all for the data policies and initiatives of the Korean government has been implementing so far. So thank you once again for having me today.
Thank you, Ms. Lin. In the next presentation, we would like to invite Dr. Carl Ng, Vice President of Special Project Office, Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation.
Good day to all. My name is Dr. Carl Ng. I'm the Vice President at Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. And my role in Malaysia Digital Corporation is to look at data-related initiative. I drive the national data sharing policy and also look into Malaysia Digital Initiative, which includes Digital City and Digital Health. I'm pleased to present to you a paper titled, "Is Malaysia Ready to be Data-Driven Nation?" Next. A bit of background about Malaysia. Malaysia is a country with a steady digital growth. We have a population of 32 million. We are located at the heart of Southeast Asia, and the capital is Kuala Lumpur. Our GDP is about $366 billion, and we have a good digital infrastructure, whereby we have 96.8% internet user, mobile user is 98.7%, and we have very active social media users. And the GDP, the digital economy, contributes nearly more than 23% of the overall GDP of the country. Next. MDEC, we call it MDEC, Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, is an agency under the Ministry of Communication and Multimedia Malaysia that leads the digital transformation of the digital economy for the last 26 years. We started as an agency to drive the multimedia super corridor, and it's expanded to include the whole digital economy of the whole nation. And we provide different initiatives so that we're able to create more opportunities when it comes to digital economy, to drive different sectors, and also providing equitable access to digital tools, knowledge and income opportunities to all different citizens. Next. In terms of how we deliver the Malaysia Digital, which is our latest initiative, is that our role is to drive high-value digital investment. We are an investment promotion agency where we are active in attracting and getting foreign companies as well as local companies to invest in digital investments and infrastructure. We also help local digital companies, tech companies, in terms of market access, to help them to grow in ASEAN and beyond. We also drive the digital adoption of the local small and medium enterprises as well as the larger companies in Malaysia. And we strive to create a digital savvy society by bridging the digital divide and providing access to tools and knowledge to all citizens to earn additional income through digital means. And at the same time, we look at building a strong ecosystem digital ecosystem so that we enable businesses to thrive. And at the same time, as an organization, MRAC, we are building a high performance and efficient organization so that we're able to serve the businesses, the citizens, as well as the government. Next. When you talk about data, right? So data, as all of you know, is a new oil. And in order to make sure that we have the right data, we need to overcome the current challenges when it comes to data sharing. And Malaysia, like any other countries, have a lot of challenges when it comes to data sharing. If you look at the current environment, there's multiple parties that shares data, right? From the government to government, government to businesses, businesses to businesses, businesses to citizen, and citizen to government, and so forth. Right? In every aspects of this interaction, there are a lot of challenges. And some of it's related to, for example, on the left-hand side, you can see government to citizen or citizen to government perspective. A lot of the citizens are not aware of their rights, or they're not updated in terms of what are the rights when it comes to data sharing, and they do not know how they're able to comply to certain regulations and so forth. Right? In Malaysia, for example, we have a Personal Data Protection Act, but unfortunately, this act is only applied for the private sector or commercial, where data is used commercially, and the government is not obligated to follow this act. At the same time as well, there's a lot of unclear best practices in terms of the data governance in the government, and this provides certain challenges because the standards are not clear between government to government. At the same time as well, I think when it comes to data sharing between government to businesses, the guidelines and the standards are still unclear, and that sharing methods are often is done on one-to-one basis rather than one-to-many. And at the same time as well, a lot of this data sharing is done in not a scalable fashion, whereby, for example, the cross-sector data sharing is not very fully developed because of lack of proper governance, lack of awareness, and so forth. So these are some of the challenges that we face. So in order to overcome these challenges, we feel that there's a need to look at a national level data sharing policy, whereby this policy will provide the right environment, the right references and guideline to help businesses, government, and citizens to understand what is data sharing and what it can actually do to help facilitate business growth as well as government efficiency. So next slide. So this policy, it's helped to unite all stakeholders under a national agenda for data sharing so that we're able to help develop the digital economy further by leveraging on data and with the vision of to become a data-driven nation. And with this vision, the mission is very much looking in terms of, how can we make data more accessible and available to the different businesses as well as government and citizen to enable socio-economic benefits and to catalyze data-driven decision. But the most important thing is while we do data sharing, we need to ensure that the security and privacy of data it's fully comply so that we're able to build trust. At the same time, there's also a need to drive innovation and commercialization of new data-driven solutions so that we're able to create new sources of growth. And the scope of this guideline is basically covering the public sector, private sector, as well as citizens as well. And if you look at this, the key component of this policy is the principles, right? So if you don't have the right principles, people will not be able to understand the reason why this policy exists. So the principle is that data needs to be governed, like currency or money, where it's governed by central bank. Data needs to be governed, right? So there's need to have a proper governance structure to govern this data. At the same time as well, you need proper skill sets and tools to manage this data. And data needs to be used ethically. And the most important thing is data creates value. So if you keep the data and you don't use it to analyze for analysis and to share for to get insights, so data has no value, right? So at the same time as well, we need to ensure that the flow of data is seamless, and we need to build trust. And in order to execute this policy, we have derived 16 strategies, which is based on 4 different pillars. They are governance, education, technology, infrastructure, and ecosystem development. And in order to execute this, we have formed a steering committee and a technical committee to engage different government ministries and agencies together with private sector to look at ways to execute the strategies in a seamless and efficient manner. So we believe that with a conducive policy in place, we're able to encourage the citizens, the businesses, and the government to share the data based on a shared vision and a greater understanding of what data sharing can do. At the same time as well, it's also an aspiration to look at Omnibus Data Sharing Act, where we want to look into this to make perhaps a certain data sets, data mandatory for sharing, so they're able to drive a greater productivity and greater data-driven decision making in the government. With that, we hope that we're able to achieve our aspiration of digital economy aspiration of 25% of the overall GDP in the next few years. With that, that's the end of my presentation for today. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. We now invite our last presenter, Dr. Chi Min Pong, Chairman of the Organization of Data-Driven Application, to deliver his presentation.
Hello everyone, I am Chi Min Pong, Chairman of All Taiwan Open Data Alliance. Actually, I'm a meteorologist. I have a weather company called Weather Risk. Today, I will talk something about how can government formulate a data application mechanism to accelerate the promotion of data application in business opportunities. And in the beginning, I would like to introduce my company first. Weather Risk is not a new company. We had already about 17 years. And actually, we serve the government, transportation, technology, energy, and outdoor activity, and also some construction works. And most of us are meteorologists. And but besides, they have some information guy and IT guy, AI guy working together. So we have right now, we have more than 150 clients right now. And what we did is from the data, we got the global observation data from the global open data. So the weather, before the open data concept, the weather had already is open data, and we share the data. For example, if the other country in Southeast Asia, we did not share the data to the others, so we cannot predict the weather at all. So it is the observation. And some countries, because they have the manpower and also some supercomputers, so they can predict the weather. So sometimes we have a global model. Global model means is a global runs data set. So just I know that Japan and Taiwan, Korea, they have the global forecast skill for that, and a product to provide the daily forecast to the public. And besides that, also some regional data. So right now we also get the data from the global and the downscale to the local scale. The global scale sometimes too coarse. Maybe probably right now the EU, the global model is resolution is about 10 kilometers. And however, it's too close to some of the city levels. Sometimes we will downscale to 1 kilometer to 3 kilometers. And we put all of the data to our cloud server. So weather company indeed is a data company. And such this kind of service, we provide lots of tools to our customers. For example, to TV, and also we serve lots of the API to our customer about that. And so from the data, we get our service. For example, our service from the traditional, very professional weather service. We provide API, climate prediction or something, and also renewable energies. And this is growing up very quickly recently. The opportunity is very huge. For example, the solar forecast, the wind forecast, and also some mass support. For example, the disaster prevention and also lightning service. We have a lightning sensor in our network. We set up it by ourselves. And also media. Media is just like a weatherman. We serve some of the TV station and also network in Taiwan. And besides that, we also, beside the weather, we also provide a bird and bat monitoring analysis, because this is a business is come from the renewable energy. Sometimes they say, okay, Dr. Peng, you can forecast the weather. Can you monitoring the bird? Sometimes the bird strike is very close to the offshore wind farm. And how can you do something for that? For example, the shutdown on demand by the bird. Some of the big bird during the winter time, you will fly to Taiwan. Can you have any kind of mechanism to do that? And so we have lots of clients. For example, just as you know, the TSMC, AUO, Delta is a big company, ICT company, and also offshore wind farm and solar PV and lots of the outdoor activities. So we are the biggest weather company in Taiwan. And however, the weather is actually from the government in the beginning. This is from the US. They say it's a primary value chain. And the private sector is a secondary value chain, because the data, most of the data is come from the government official. And however, the private sector can use their innovation to serve the private sector or government. And also the government have some partnership for different partnership. This is NWS is a US Weather Bureau, and also the academia and research. So we can say it's a different academia, private sector, government. It's several rule about that. And the US, they have a very clear map about the weather service. For example, the government is provide data to academic and also the weather company for that. And the weather company can do lots of service for that. And however, during the disaster come, the government also serve lots of the client to the public. And the government sometimes during the, for example, hurricane or typhoon come to USA, the government also serve like this. So right now, most of the country, just like US, Europe, and Japan, Korea, they had already have the weather structure, especially the public-private partnership for that. And however, in the beginning, there were lots of confliction about the service, because some government will claim it's our job, and the private sector stole my job to do, so it's not good for the public. For example, this is our government official. They, although they claim they will not do the public service, however, they also have lots of social media and lots of the push to the mobile phone and lots of app and also their website. They have lots of funding for that. And lots of the private sector of young generation will can. The government compete with the private sector. It's not good for the public-private partnership. However, it's not easy to overcome the problem. And however, such is kind of the conflicts continue for a long time. And however, this year, in year 2022, in this September, we dialogue with CWB. So I remember in that day, we have a ceremony to congratulation to government and private sector. Private sector is a weather risk. And this is me. I shake the hand with the Director General of the Weather Bureau. But before that, it's not easy to see that. we sign a contract. We will share the resources for each other. And the other one is we invite the Minister Digital MODA. We call MODA, Minister of the Digital Development. And this is the Minister Tang, and we can say it's AU Tang, and he come to join us, and also the other bureau, the government ministry, to join us. So it's a ceremony for the public. It's a PPP, and that's why we can say it's a high-value data set from government and government weather data to the private sector. Why I should say this? Because such this kind of service actually is from the ideal from the government. In the beginning, the government will say we open the data, and however they don't think the private sector can do something. They say private sector is just only to our client. So it's probably sometimes it's competitor. So in their rule, there was no private sector. But in last 2 years, the government, especially our weather bureau, changed their mind. They say we can provide the data and we can do it to public. And however, to specific ideal and regions and also sector show from the private sector. So it's the very early, very innovation for the government because they should open their mind to do that. And such is kind of service actually from the WMO. They have the open consultative platform in about 3 years ago. It's a WMO conference, and they claim the weather is not only the government but also the private sector. We should work together. And such is kind of the cooperation is from the Weather Bureau, because Weather Bureau, before that, the data from the Weather Bureau is a very expensive, most expensive in the world, because beside the open data, we also have the data law. The data should pay something. It's not easy to modify the law, and they think we can sign a contract, you can get the data. So we get 41 gigabytes per day. For example, they transfer the numerical weather model data to us, and also lots of the ocean and also the other data set to us. So such kind of service is good for us to improve. So how we did, and we will have the first one is a product improved by different data set, and also innovation for the new product, and also prediction improvement, and so we do something about the AI. And for example, this is a case. I use the data show to the mayor, the new Taipei City mayor, to show this data, this graphics is from the Weather Bureau, and also we define more detailed data about that. And we also have some feedback. This feedback we can say is a co-work weather hackathon. We encourage the young generation to join our hackathon, and we have prize to encourage the innovation to happen, some idea. It's very good for them, and we will continue the weather hackathon this next year or next 2 years. And such is kind of feedback can have the open banking. Open banking, I think, is very similar to open data. So just I show you the open finance, we shall open the banking. Open banking is just similar, very similar to weather data. So from the different weather sources, the more data open, and you will encourage the competition, and also encourage the opportunity, and also efficiency and fair. So such is kind of open banking, open finance trend show it's a lot of the barrier to see, especially the law and something. So I encourage all the people can share my example from the weather, because every company, every country, you have weather bureau. So how to open your mind, the high value data set are the key to development the data economy. If we want to do the data economy, not only the open data, we should have the high value data sets. Especially we should need the clear pathway. The pathway means the law and the policy for that. Right now we have a policy, and however it's not very clear, and however we can have an open consultative platform, and also to dialogue and implementations. And the last one is, I think such is kind of weather information conflict is a good example to AODP countries. So please share and advocate the concept to everybody, because such is kind of ideal. Every country you have weather bureau, and I think most of the weather bureau dominate all of the weather information. So we can push them to open the data. So such is kind of a good example can help the other country and other ministry to open their mind. Okay, thank you much.
Thank you, Dr. Peng, and thank you for sharing rich examples for us. Thank you all for the wonderful sharing. And now we would like to move to the next session. To all the speakers, please be minded to turn off your microphone when others are presenting. Let's welcome all of our speakers, panelists, and our moderator, Mr. Chia Kai Liu, the CEO of DSP, for the panel discussion. Welcome.
Thank you for attending this panel discussion. In this session, we are going to discuss how to promote the use of open data and how to enable regional collaboration. We have a very diverse panel, including business professionals, academic researchers, and policymakers. Let me introduce our panelists. First, from Japan, let's welcome Professor Noboru Koshizuka, University of Tokyo. Please say wave your hand to the audience. Next is Mr. Hiroshi Shiraki. I hope I pronounce your name right. From Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Then Mr. Sho Ueda, Digital Agency. Next is from Malaysia, Dr. Kao Ng, Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. Next is from Korea, Ms. Haejung Lin, National Information Society Agency. Then last is from Taiwan, Dr. Chi-Min Peng, Chairperson of the Open Data Alliance, and Mr. Tin Chen, President of TMS Technologies. Thank you all for being here today. We just heard from the previous topics. There are a lot of exciting progress in promoting the use of open data across Asia, like in Japan, in Korea, in Malaysia, and here in Taiwan. It made me wonder, what are the innovative opportunities and key challenges for data applications in your own country? For this question, I would like to ask Mr. Shirashi, Mr. Ueda, Ms. Lin, and Dr. Pan. In your opinion, what are the trends and the challenges for data usage in your countries in the next 3 to 5 years? Mr. Shirashi, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. So I think for the data opening is open the data is pretty important keys. I think kind of like open innovations. So we're going to be open for the data, right? Then people having a data. Then that's not only for our side. Then people having a lot of good ideas and more promoting for the those kind of usage. Then that one is going to be influent for our citizens. So the key, yeah, we try to more openly for the data currently. Then those kind of trend, we try to more accelerate currently. So we want to make a more trend right now.
Thank you, Mr. Shirashi. You're also from Japan, Mr. Ueda. What's your take from your perspective in the central government?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Maybe as I mentioned yesterday, part of after the COVID-19, we have more focus on interoperability. As you know that in the past, each ministry agency and the local government has been promoting the digitalization separately. This is of course the same situation in a level of data. The government demand the people and the business submission of the information, which is source of open data, and independently, and hold information separately. For example, that the company has to submit its information separately to the tax office and the social security office and the labor office and the regulation office and also the supporting system office. As a result, the tax office have sales and profit information of a company. The labor office have employee information of the company, and the regulation office have a regulation entity information of the company. And the Ministry of Operating Supporting System have other independent information of a company, which are submitted by the company. Each ministries have a different and separated data. This is why our government was so ineffective and vulnerable in the era of the COVID-19. We could not operate smoothly, even some very basic payment to people or companies. And this is why we started the program on the base registry. In that program, that we are now identifying the master data, which is ministries have to share and refer, and coordinating with other ministries about the development plan of master data and the integrated system. And this is the most challenging process because we have to not only invest and develop the software and system, but also revise the hard law and the business processes because it is deeply connected with our Japanese architecture of the hard law and the routine work of the staff. I think that this is the most challenging process for the next 3 to 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you. As we can see, Japan is taking both. It's very interesting because the government is taking both a centralized approach, very well organized, even from the municipal or from the central government perspective, but also trying to take a bottom-up approach, like have a diverse, distributed, federated system to encourage the data ecosystem. So this is a very interesting case study. And Ms. Lin, what about Korea? In your view, is Korea taking a similar approach, or do you have a different strategy?
Okay, so from Korea perspective side, that I've mentioned in my presentation that we have a very unique policy that governments are not allowed to make any data apps or applications if there is any single possibilities or capabilities that private sector has, right? So thus, thanks to that policies in Korea, so we have about 3,000 apps or web services using open government data set. However, there is a clear decline in a number of data applications using open government data sets. I think it's because those apps are more of giving informations or giving alerts. And as we can see, there are more apps developed in these days, an area of recreation, like a shopping or games, like consuming apps. So which means that I think that we've reached a certain point at the red ocean for the data apps, especially using open government data sets. So I think that but for the citizens and the climate changes issues that we still face, those apps should be developed accordingly. So I think this post-COVID-19 and climate change will be a game changer for these more creative services to be developed in 3 to 5 years.
Thank you. You point out a very important question. Should the government just develop and publish good quality data, or should government build apps? Or should we leave it to the industry and the civil society? This is a very good question. Dr. Pan, in your presentation, you mentioned your company has organized a hackathon using weather data. Also, we have Mr. Shirayashi also mentioned they have open data hackathon by it's called the Governance Cup. So it's I guess it's the local area. It's not a central government level, but it's a local government level government organized hackathon. In Taiwan, we also have something called the presidential hackathon. It's been 5 years in the running. So it's organized and celebrated by the president of Taiwan. So what do you think? Is hackathon going to be useful to promote the use of open data and also stimulate the data economy?
Yeah. I think yes, the answer is yes, and the government like hackathon. Although sometimes hackathon does not mean any kind of the new business, but probably it's a progress. And I think I'm very glad we have an AODP platform. So when I talk about the high value data, actually the idea is from the AODP. I remember several years ago, Mrs. Lim talked about the Korea, your government, because you have an open data law, very detailed. Your government say, we want to turn off the weather app. and to your weather bureau focus something, and it is belong to the private sector. So that kind of the idea encourage us. And also from Noburo-san from Japan, you have WXBC, and to promote something to make an ecosystem. So I'm very, such this kind of platform encourage us to promote such this kind of idea in Taiwan. And however, I think because right now, this year in late August, and Taiwan, we have a new ministry, we call Ministry of the Digital Affairs. So that means before that, everybody think in the future, open data will very good under the new MODA, Ministry of Digital Affairs. But although the Ministry of Digital Affairs had already 3 months, what I found is they have lots of things to do. Probably open data will be the last one to do. However, what I think in the future, how to promote more high-value data. High-value data means it's not easy to get the data. I think even the Korea and the Japan, you did not also open the high-value data set. So how to make the ecosystem? For example, when in Korea, you open very detailed, good data from the government side to the private sector side, and also make some new business. Such as kind of concept can encourage the local area, because why I think the law and also any kind of the policy is not so fast to overcome the innovation. So I think in the future, we hope this kind of platform, as we can promote something like this, especially the net zero climate change also need our support about the data sharing, especially the high value data, because the net zero sometimes is not easy to identify the real benefit, the investment is good or not, nobody knows. And how to open the high value data to evaluate the benefit is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peng. We just heard opinion from countries, representative from countries which has been promoting open data for quite some years. And how about Malaysia? I know Malaysia officially started to promote open data is later than the other countries, but you can also learn from others' mistakes. So what do you think, Dr. Ang?
Okay, we started open data quite early. I think in the year 2013-14. But during that time, I think we developed that because there's a lot of movement on open data, and a website has been developed by Mampu, which is the Malaysian Administrative and Modernization Plan Unit. And what we did was then we MDAC and Mampu came up with a collaboration with Open Data Institute. This is the setup that was founded by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, which help different organizations in the world to adopt open data, right? So we went through the collaboration, organized workshop, develop the processes and the principles, and as well as appointed the change agent, the data agent within different ministries to start to look at the open data. And how it really start off is basically by having a mandate that was given by the Prime Minister to get all the different ministries to look at open data, and we have set KPIs. Like how many data they need to open for each ministries and agency. So this is basically how the amount of data sets in the repository, the data.gov.my, was increased from just few hundreds to few thousand in a short period of time, right? So we felt that we need to do this because we need to start the things going. Of course, when we have so many data there could be some issues as well, because some data may not be the right granular sort of level, the quality may not be there. But I think it's necessary for us to fill this up so that everyone knows what sort of data is available, and then we're able to get feedback from various different parties. And then the next phase of that was basically trying to get the data quality up. There's a lot of efforts done by Mampu to handhold different agencies to really make sure that the data that's being put up is of certain quality level or granular level that are useful. Right. At the same time as well, there's also push to make use of this data by organizing open data hackathons, right? So that's an annual event which Mampu organized, and MDAC has been supporting this initiative, in the last few years, right? So that's pretty much what has been done in terms of the open data standpoint. But we also feel that beyond the open data, in general, the data sharing effort needs to be expanded as well. So that's therefore we also look at things that I mentioned earlier on, the policy on the data sharing and things like that, so that you're able to get more data in the ecosystem.
Data sharing is always a work in progress in all countries, I think. And I'm very glad you mentioned Mampu, because now I remember about 2 years ago, actually 3 years ago, in 2019, Mampu has sent 2 teams to participate in Taiwan's presidential hackathon. And one of the teams has awarded the Team of Excellence because their use of data, government data, to promote social development. Okay. Now, thank you all for your insights on how open data will improve society and economy in the near future. Now, let's move to the next topic and turn our attention beyond national borders. How can we establish an international cooperation model in Asia? What are the challenges? Which application fields should we prioritize, and why? For this question, I would like to invite Mr. Koshizuka, Mr. Chen, and Dr. Ng to share your views. Mr. Koshizuka.
I think that for international cooperation of open data or data flow, data sharing, data exchange in Asia, I have two points of view. The first view is the application area or domain or topic. And the second view is what kind of data class or data type. These two views is very important. Then I think for the first view, which application area or which domain, which topic are good for the international cooperation. I think global issue is very good because every country is facing to such kind of global issue. For example, the first example is the climate change or green society problem. Because the global warming issue is beyond the country border, every country wants to share climate data with the data, the data of our planet. So and another point of view is for the greenhouse gas emission response, basically we must realize the CO2 emission calculation. But today, supply chain is so global, or not only inside the country. So in order to realize CO2 emission calculation in supply chain, we must establish an international data infrastructure for CO2 emission calculation. So this is a good example of topics. And another example is COVID-19. This is also a global issue, and in every country there are many big problems on this issue. We want to share data with each other, so there is a strong requirement for sharing COVID-19 related data. And the second point of view is the data class, and there are several data classes. For example, personal data, open data, industry data, and technically static file data, or real-time streaming data, and so on. And I think that we had better dealing with open data for the first priority. This is because, for example, personal data is the most difficult issue. This is not so easy. So I think we need a long time to resolve this problem, the agreement of personal data handling in every countries, across the countries, beyond the country border. But open data is the first priority of data class for international collaboration because it's very easy for policy. So I would like to propose to establish, for example, the Asia open data space, international collaboration based on the concept of data space. So my answer is we should start international collaboration in Asia on open data related to global issues such as green or COVID-19, I think. So for this purpose, I would like to start developing the Asia Open Data Space platform. Thank you.
Thank you. I like the concept of a data space because we can all be space explorers in this new area. And I totally agree with you that climate change and COVID-19 are on everyone's top list. Mr. Chen, what do you think? Is there any other areas you think we should pay attention to?
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Tim from Taiwan TMS. TMS is the ITS company, and we do a lot of the government project for our government. And we also doing some of the data business in Taiwan. And TMS is a company, and we cooperation with the map company and support our local transportation data to them, and they combine our data to carmaker company. So in the past 2 years, we have a very good opportunity because we can expand our business to the southeast of the Asia. So in this year, we already have some partner in Hong Kong, Macau, Vienna, and Thailand. So this is the very important and how to cooperation with our partner, data partner in other countries. So I will share some our experience to you. The first one, and you must find out the very good partner in this country. So I think the trust is very important because they hope can take the data to you. You must have some trust. So you must have the very clear the data schema and what kind of the data quality you need. So this is the second one is that we need to identify what kind of the data you want and your requirement. And the third one is the database model. Because in our country, we build up some of the sharing model. So not only to provide us data, and we also clean the data and fill the data, then selling the data to the carmaker company. And we also have the revenue sharing business model to them, and so they will be very happy to get us more data to us. And the other one is the fourth one is very important because as the Nobura-san say, every country have a different data transfer board regulation. So like the example, when we need to transfer the data from the Vienna to our data server, we need to set up the VM in the Vienna first. So we sign a different contract with our data partner because they cannot just send the data from their server to our server because they just have some of the law regulation. So when we need to cooperation with a different country in different country, you must to find out what kind of the data transfer board regulation in their country. And I think for the future, and we're still looking for some of the good partner in other area, and like the Japan, like Malaysia, Indonesia, and India, because our partners still looking for some of the quality data for them. And I think in the future, transportation data is very valuable. It's very valuable. So some kind of like because of the EV charging, and they need to the real-time EV charge data. The second one is I think for the SAP issue, so they need to understand what kind of low risk information, and also some kind of information like the PM 2.5, some kind of lack the information, and they all need the data. So this is our sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen, for pointing out that transportation is a very important and emerging area, especially because of the growth of electric cars and also related to the climate change. Dr. Ng, what do you think? Is there other ways we can do to foster dialogue and cooperation within the region?
Okay. My point of view, I think I do agree with what all the other fellow panel speaker mentioned. We need to focus on key issues, right? So and we cannot just focus on in general in terms of the data sharing, because end of the day, people need to see that the flow of the data and the use of the data to solve a particular problem. Right. So in general, I think there's two different phases that this international collaboration needs to follow. Number one is we need to make sure that there's a consensus agreement within different countries within the region to agree that data sharing is key, and to form different governance sort of platform to allow this to happen. Right. So, for example, it could be through, like a partnership or association like AODP. It could be an ASEAN sort of platform. It could be different sort of platform. But I think it needs to be governed under a particular partnership sort of model, so that each countries can get the necessary approval and commitment at the most highest level, right? So that's number one. Number two is then to look at what sort of areas that we need to look at. I think one area, apart from what is mentioned, the climate change, the health, COVID related, there's also a need to look at, the things that matter, such as trade, right? So if like Malaysia is actually one of the top 20 trading countries in the world, right? So we trade with different countries. At the same time, the movement of goods, which is becoming more difficult because of the COVID. There's a lot of opportunity to look at, how to increase efficiency of this movement of goods, from the clearing, from the customs to logistics, movement, tracking, and so forth, right? And even taxation as well. Right, so I think there's opportunity to look at this as one of the areas or use case where each countries can really benefit from this, because end of the day, these are transactions on an ongoing basis. So if you're able to get this right, there's a lot of opportunity for different countries to collaborate, right? So in order to do this, I think as what mentioned earlier on, we need to make sure that we have a trusted platform. Different countries will have their own trusted platform. The standardization of things which is required, and also making sure that we have the right process and capability in terms of human resources skill as well. Malaysia is also currently undertaking an initiative called e-invoicing, where we were trying to standardize the e-invoicing for the whole country, so that we're able to allow trade data to be moved more easily across. And we basically followed the Singapore model, because they also did that for their country. And we actually take the standard and execute this in Malaysia. But we hope that, by having the common standards, more countries in the ASEAN could adopt similar approach. Then we would allow more cohesive, faster data flow in terms of this trade data. So we hope that we could collaborate more in terms of on a particular topic, and making sure that you have the right platform, and also commitment from the government to move forward.
Yes, thank you for pointing out that in addition to figuring out which area to prioritize, we also need sound civil trust and also regulatory environment to facilitate the dialogue and the development of open data applications. And also, it's very interesting you mentioned about e-invoice development in Malaysia, because Taiwan also have similar mechanism. It's been in place a couple of years. And now a lot of businesses are using data from e-invoice to start up new businesses. Also, government is using this information. Also, of course, it's conform with the privacy regulation to use it for policy making, also for tax fraud detection. So it's a very good area to explore as well. Dr. Pen, I know you were just in Egypt for the COP27. What do you think? What are the vibes in the conference? Are people are people still hopeful for climate change, climate action, or how can we use data to facilitate this movement?
Okay, actually, I think probably next AODP meeting we will be in COP28 at Dubai next year. And why I said this, and the first thing is greenwashing. Greenwashing means lots of the enterprise or government, they want to pretend they are very green, but actually do nothing. For example, ESG, just lots of the paper, no open data at all. So I think in this COP27, lots of the country, lots of the experts already talk about that. And by my background, I would say it's open data. And we should have a platform for that. This is the first thing. And the second is if we want to do the climate change, especially the net zero, for the enterprise, the scope 3. Scope 3 means the supply chain. Supply chain, how to get all of the data, and all of the supply chain data should be open to the public. And but however, it's not easy because the privacy and the confidential and lots of things to do. So probably blockchain can help the climate change scope 3 data for that. And however, it's a new issue. And I propose maybe next year we can have some climate change collaboration, especially the carbon reduction and also adaptation, because adaptation also need the data to identify what is loss and damage, the really loss and damage because of the climate change. So such is kind of data. In the COP before that, no data guide there. So probably AODP next year or next few years, we can do something for that. We can help the climate change expert do something for that in the future. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Pen. I think using data to have a more transparent view of current progress about against the fight of global warming is very important. Also can help to build the social resilience. Thank you all for laying out a feasible roadmap for regional collaboration in using data to improve the quality of life and stimulate economic development in the post-COVID turbulent time. Now, let's turn the floor to our MC.
Thank you, Mr. Liu, and all the panelists. Thank you all for the inspiring sharing. And before we move on to the closing speech, let's have a group photo together. Okay, please turn on your camera for group photo time, and please look at your camera and the camera in front of you all. And let's say cheese together. Okay, are you ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, cheese. Great. And now let's have our second photo together. Please have your thumb up. Okay, good. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And once again, thank you all for your participation today. Before the summit ends, we would like to invite representatives from AODP to give us a closing speech. Welcome Dr. Chi-Min Pong and Mr. Kara Yosef.
Thank you, everyone, and it's my honor to thank you all of you to help this event, and especially I will thank you, the Yosef organized this, and I know this is COVID-19, and but I know I just come back from Egypt and also Europe. pandemic is over. It's over now. So we don't take any kind of a mask when before I come to Taiwan. So I think next year we can face-to-face to meet each other, because what I think is face-to-face we have more feeling and also some challenge for the future cooperations. I think next year probably we can meet each other in Bangkok, and the first things. And the second is I think the future we still have lots of things to do. Although the open data, we had already did it maybe more than 5 to 10 years. However, it's just like an early stage, because right now, even the AI, the blockchain, the climate change, everywhere need the open data. And how to make the ecosystem more mature and also more potential still need our support for that, especially probably next meeting, and probably we can do something in the COP, the UNFCCC, the climate change issues. So I think in the future, we still have a lot of things to do. Let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peng. And now we will move to Mr. Joseph.
Well, that brings us to the close of our summit this year. We'd like to extend a warm thank you to the panelists that have taken their time and out of their busy schedules to share their insights into their initiatives, as well as the way forward for collaborations in open data for Asia for next year. So thank you, panelists. Dr. Koshizuka, Mr. Shiraishi, Mr. Ueda, Mr. Carl Ng, Ms. Hyo-Jung Lim, Mr. Chi Meng Peng, Mr. Tim Chen, and Mr. Chia Kai Liu, again, for their time and their insights. I'd also like to thank the AODP Secretariat that have been extremely helpful in getting and pulling off this summit together. This summit would not have happened without their help and dedication. And with this, it brings us to our close, and we hope for a successful one next year by our hosts from TGA Thailand. And hopefully we can all meet in person next time. Thank you.
And we thank you all for your participation, and we will see you next year. Bye-bye.